Hello, friends. It's been an eventful 2 days. After the last episode on product pricing and how important it is for product development and for selling, I got quite a few messages by way of direct messages as well as on LinkedIn. But the most interesting thing that happened after that last episode was that I received a phone call from a friend of many years whom with whom I have not really connected for many years. And he explained how he had launched a product. He's also in the gem and jewelry business. He explained how he had launched a product and a brand. It was a beautiful product. I have not seen it, but I'm just telling you the conversation, which was ethically sourced. He mentioned about using only recycled gold, etc., and that it was ethically manufactured. In his judgment, it was appropriately priced compared to the talk that I gave on price. He said it was not underpriced, it was not overpriced. He thought it was the right price. And yet, it failed. And after listening to my episodes on product development, etc., he decided to call me. Now, this call was very interesting because the first thing is I did not know or was not aware that he was changing any of these things. Was not aware that he was changing any of these things. And then we got into a conversation. I started probing. He wanted to probe me and pick my brains. And so that discussion went on, and it actually became a kind of a brainstorming session. The whole topic of the discussion was on the possible reasons for his product failure. Why did his product fail? It's not that he was creating a brand and a brand failed, according to him, though I do believe that he was trying to create a brand. Why did his product fail? And in the gem and jewelry industries, particularly in the case of B2B business models, this challenge is even more acute. And this friend of mine was even more distraught because one of his cousins did something similar at the same time, which is something like about just pre-COVID, maybe about 5-6 years back. And his cousin's business was doing pretty well, or rather is also doing pretty well. And that cousin has no business model. That cousin, she has a team of designers who are not particularly creative or innovative, but yet she manages to sell. And I have known such cases myself, and therefore my first response was to quiz him about the cousin's product. Okay. What he told me is not at all surprising. He told me the cousin makes product which is similar to the ones available in most stores across the city, and that she makes tweaks of product from famous brands or designer houses. So I was frankly not surprised to see this. And when I asked about the customer base, again, I was not surprised because what she does is she holds shows where it's mainly her friends, her relatives, friends of friends, friends and relatives of relatives, all of whom becomes her customer base, and they come and buy stuff from her. For me, this is not really a business because the strength that she's selling on is the designs which are either copies or tweaks from famous designs from designs of famous brands and designers, or what is already available in the shop. So what is her USP? Her USP is that that same product, if you buy in the shop, it is probably 10 or 15% more expensive. And yet this lady probably makes the same amount of money as the retailer because she has no overheads. She has no team of salespeople. She does have a couple of salespeople, apparently, but she has no team of salespeople. She has no shop and establishment that she's running. And maybe a lot of the business is not even taxed. So, having heard all of this, my first advice to him was forget about your cousin's business. Is that what you want to do? No. I said, let's forget about the cousin's business. Let's forget about why she started it, what she is doing, etc. Because in all probability, she started it just because she had time on her hands and she knew a few babus and a few sources for diamond. Okay. And it was never meant to be a serious business per se. Okay. And the idea always was that, oh, I'll call friends and relatives, they will buy. And maybe most of them bought because of that relative pressure. Let's not call it peer pressure. But you want to establish a real business. You want to make a career out of this. So don't compare or think about what your cousin is doing and say that, okay, it is helping you. Now, this seemed to hit a chord. And we went on. And another thing he mentioned, the business was very good when she started, but slowly over time, the revenues have been deteriorating. So this is not surprising because that lady probably doesn't have a very clear-cut product line, product strategy, business strategy, or any business goal for that matter. You're probably wondering why the hell am I talking for more than 5-6 minutes on this particular topic? Because unlike people who do so, and I know a few who do these things, unlike people who do business like this, if you're interested in really creating a business and making a career in this business, you need to understand certain things about how business works. You need to understand the key points that you need to be aware of when you are starting a business, so as not to have a product failure in particular and a business failure in general. At this stage, I'd like to tell you the most basic thing that you need to remember. And this is for anybody who develops product, not only gem and jewelry, in any industry, I would say. This is an eternal truth, is that the customer does not always buy the best product. Yes, please get this very clearly. The customer always does not buy the best product. But they choose the product that they feel is least risky. I mean, if it's a cheap item which costs a few bucks, they don't care. But when it's either meant to satisfy some need or it's a pricey item, they want to buy something that is least risky. They are not willing to take a risk. They don't want to take a risk on the price. They don't want to take a risk on so many other factors. We'll look into some of the factors for gem and jewelry immediately, but in every product category, whether it's a tech product or whether it's a white goods product or anything, the customer is going to take the product, not which is the best, but which is the least risky. And therefore, remember that a great product does not always translate into a successful product. nor does it make any kind of a guarantee that your business is going to be successful. Some of the things that we discussed on this call are very interesting, and that is why I decided to make this into an episode and explain to you that other kind of business. Not to say that that business is wrong. No, don't get me wrong. And I know some people, I know some women, in fact, who started their business that way, but they had a plan, they had a goal, they had a strategy, and they started this way to start getting revenues so that they could spend rather than invest, which is very, very brilliant. Okay. And they have established into good, full scale grown businesses. So, what are some of the other things that you need to know? Customers do not switch loyalty as easily as we generally tend to believe. They will not move away from a trusted vendor or a trusted brand. In fact, they are loath to switch vendors or brands, particularly in the kind of product that we are talking of, and especially in our product category, which is gems and jewelry. The success of that cousin is because the customers are not from an open base, which is what a business would need, but from a very, very small target audience where trust is implicit. So that trust factor is very critical. And it is because of the trust factor and the tendency of a consumer to buy the least risky product that they don't switch vendors or brands. Okay. Also, if you're launching a product without that closed customer base, there is no psychological pressure to buy. And I know this firsthand because I know friends and my own wife who at certain times is compelled to buy because that show or that product or somebody starting a new venture which you need to support. But as I said, that's the start, and I think it's a great way to start, provided you have and follow and create a roadmap for the business strategy, the business model you will adopt in the long range. This is an important part. Otherwise, you'll be left selling one of those few pieces and dabbling in jewelry, but not really making it a full-fledged business. A new and better product does not always get consumer acceptance. And this is again something that you need to remember, that just because you are developing a great product, which may be cheaper than the existing product, which may be giving you far more features than the existing product, which may be better in many ways over the existing product, does not guarantee acceptance by the consumer. So why? The first thing is that you need to establish the trust of the customer. And to do that, you can use word of mouth, you can use Google reviews, you can use influence, etc. But creating and establishing the trust is very, very important. Because as we just said, the consumers are averse to taking risk, especially in an industry which is fraught with tales of quality and promise compromises. You do not always get what you are told, and therefore you need to be able to establish trust even more deeply. And a simple way of doing this, besides word of mouth and Google review and all that, is to, if possible, okay, it depends on your business model, but if you can start distributing the product through established vendors or other channels who are implicitly trusted and where people know that, okay, this vendor or this channel is never going to accept and sell a defective or invaluable product by way of price, maybe. Okay. So this is an important aspect that you need to see. Well, in our industry, why trust is even more important because there are risks involved which are significantly expensive in terms of finances. The first one is the promised caratage of gold or any other metal that you're using. The second is the promised diamond quality in terms of all the four C's. And these two comprise probably 80% or maybe more in Indian scenario of the total value. So if you cannot trust your vendor or the brand on these two aspects, you are going to stay away from that product. While these two top the list, undoubtedly, there are other things that also matter within the gem and jewelry industry. Is the price that is being asked for the product right? Will you get the right after-sales service in case something happens to the product? And third, in the Indian scenario, very important, is the right return or exchange policy. Though statistically, less than 2% of the product sold is ever returned. But it's a psychological thing of the consumer. In case, because see, Indian consumer does not buy the product only as a product, they buy it also as an investment. So they want that assurance that tomorrow if I need to sell it, it's going to be easy to do so. Because it's an investment, and if they need the money, they should be able to encash it. So what are some of the ways where you can get people to switch vendors or brands? Very important. Build awareness about your product and your brand. That's the first thing. And arouse the interest of the target consumer through multi-channel communications and keep repeatedly informing them, communicating to them about your USPs. Try to have some first buy policy or first buy offer or deal to get them to take your product. Let them try it. If you're sure of your product, that trial is going to be successful and they will come back to you. And try to get word of mouth. Take testimonials from people who buy your product. Make sure you track them. Arrange to communicate and connect with them after some time. Ask them for their opinion on the product. Ask them if they can give a testimonial which you can use across social media or your other communication channels. But this is the best way to establish trust. You need to build awareness about your product and your brand. And you need to be value-led. You have to communicate to your potential customers about the value that you are bringing to the table and what and how you value yourself and them and your business. You need to arouse the interest of the target customer, as I said, through multi-channel communication. And you need to keep repeating your USPs. Okay, so having said how to do it, what are some of the root causes of failure, which is where this entire conversation actually started? And the first one, and which I told my friend and he agreed he had not done it, is to put in time and effort to know and understand your customer very, very, very well. He just created a product for jewelry buyers. Doesn't work that way. Not every jewelry buyer is interested or capable of buying every piece of jewelry that you can design and find in the market. When you design a product, aim for customer exhilaration, especially in the case of, I use that word. Normally you will find customer experience. I'm saying customer exhilaration because that's what jewelry is all about. But often we look at just the business aspect of the product and price it accordingly, which we discussed in the last episode, which is wrong according to me. A lot of people, they create a product, but they don't have a strategy, either for the business or for the product or for the pricing. You don't have a strategy, you're 100% going to fail. Don't even start that business. They do not ensure market fit. If I make a product that is going to cost a few 100,000 rupees, and then I go to a small village where people even have difficulty in living or sustaining themselves, is that a product market fit? No. Yes, they would also want children, especially women. Which women doesn't? But then they can't afford that. Okay. So you have to ensure that there is a product market fit. You need to be unique and different. If they can find something with their existing vendor, why will they switch and come to you? They will come to you only if you're offering something different. And you need to build the product that fulfills some desire or fulfills the purpose why your customer will buy it and use it. It may be just something as simple as showing to the world that I've made it, I have arrived, or I have it. But that's one of the needs that you need to be very mindful when you are developing something trendy and disruptive, because such products have a long gestation period before they can get consumers interested. And in such cases, even more the need to communicate your USPs and your brand to them, because your brand needs to be established. Explain product features and USPs. Don't just mention the USP. Build credibility and offer failure resolutions. If the product does not do what you're supposed to be promising you deliver, or it's not the right quality that you have promised, offer a resolution. Take it back, replace it. The choice is yours. You need to develop that. And even if you're not selling online, this is very important. You need to have a very, very, very good website in which there is all the features, USPs mentioned about what you're doing, about your business model and policies. And you must have a very, very easy way for customers to connect with you and communicate with you in case they have any challenges. Have well-trained and qualified salespeople and train them specially and teach them how to close a deal. And this requires a lot of proper training, professional training. And of course, have the right distribution channels for your product. I hope this has been helpful. My friend, I'd love to hear from you. There are a few things I've added here which we did not discuss, and I look forward to hearing. Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody. I will see you again in the next episode. Bye-bye.